All right. Various things.
Go.
They're good.
Okay. And I think you was.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Go ahead and bring the meeting to order. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for its states, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Right. Public comments. All right. Has everybody read? Do we all approve of the previous meeting? Yeah. Okay. Anybody against? Okay. All right. All right. Reports and updates. Marketing communications, Facebook, Instagram updates, Kevin's work on advertising. So wanted to talk about here that I guess that Facebook and Instagram are our main sort of outward facing things. We got and our announcements are out there, and I don't know. I don't really know why I put that on. Go ahead. Please do.
Just want to make sure everybody's going to continue when we do the speaker. We're going to do a little 1 minute short or 1 minute reel afterwards.
Yeah.
We're going to try to continue to do that. We're having good traction. So
Okay.
it's going well. And then I will reach back out to North Allegheny broadcast journalism class.
Yeah.
So David, just to see if we can get it going again. We are in, if I'm looking at it correctly, we're in the top 10 video views of all time. Any video on the Town of McCann's Facebook.
There you go.
Or this is the top 10 of all time if I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
So John or somebody can look at and make sure I'm not. But I'd love to be able to continue that. Then potentially contact other high schools or other. So I intend to put that list together. Just want to make sure everybody's good with that. That I'll start some of that just to contact people.
And soon we'll talk about when when we'll shut down in January, and we'll have to we'll want to continue our presence. We don't want to just the building will shut down, but we'll continue doing things on Facebook
and for reaching out to the schools, I think I'm going to leave it alone for a while as they get going this week.
Yeah.
Starting this week, you guys are starting, so it's like let it calm down a bit.
Right. And also, put I think I had I don't want to steal my thunder from the next topic. Go ahead, Kevin. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. I consider us maybe with doing. We had Dan and I talked about this, and he pulled up that is a line item for advertising. Okay, and I know you're going to bring it up. So, is there still a line item for advertising?
The advertising line item is used specifically for the gala. So the number that's in the advertising budget has been predominantly used for the banquet and gala costs. So that number was budgeted to at $3,000 to be as a starting point for the gala, not necessarily for advertising. But it was because we haven't traditionally had a lot of money set aside. Now, y'all haven't spent a lot of money, which you'll see. Let me just pass these out right now. As you'll see when we get to that there's other items that we may be able to pick up and use for the gala if you need to do some kind of advertising.
I guess that point isn't about the gala. And it's surprising. Yes, I wasn't aware that we were using that line item to support the gala. But advertising in general, I'd like to see us maybe look at for some of our speakers and events. We do Facebook, we do a couple different advertise on the calendar, and we hand out our flyers. But I think it might be interesting to try some local advertising, perhaps through the new Allegheny Journal. Basically, it goes to 16,000 people here in Kansas, and it's a weekly and a quarter page ad, which is this size, is $258. And they're also willing to do, you can do like a 12-week buy, they'll give you a 20% discount. It's a full color ad. And if we can get our act together enough that we can advertise events 2-3 weeks or further back, which we do, we usually have all our creative.
Yeah.
I think it would be a worthwhile thing and just maybe even just try it as a pilot for depending on when our next event is. Well, we have one with the for the band for
That's tomorrow night.
yeah, that's what we, and then whatever we plan, we have the osteoporosis one, which is already in can as well. So if we're planning anything for October or even advertising for the gala, this would be worthwhile. I'd like to just try something and see if we get any kind of buzz out of it. And then maybe plan for next year, putting money into advertising. And it would all be, the only cost would be the placement cost. You know, I do everything that's up around. So.
To me, that's not the big thing for the buck. I mean, just try it out. You know, try it out. If it doesn't work, then just.
I mean, I don't like it for every week. If you can, or anything, if there was an event there that, yeah, or tomorrow's event, I think it would get us,
Especially for
people, yeah,
our clientele usually.
very targeted.
Yeah, it's very targeted.
And
And quickly in that from analysts and within the McCandless.
is that right?
Yeah. September 15th.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's one thing to get a listing.
Yeah.
You know,
Two cents.
Yeah, I think this is saying that we're already hearing that. Yeah, that'd be a good place for us to be advertising for our regular events.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring that up.
yeah, thank you. And I want to point out Kevin's work on flyers and the other advertising that we get with that is really remarkable. And it should be celebrated and recognized that Kevin is giving us high-level professional graphic work. As a graphic artist, a professional graphic artist who usually charges a lot of money for his services. And no, I do. I have a reason. It's more than just a compliment, Kevin. I have reasons for bringing that up and bringing up the idea. There is a dollar amount that is attached to your talents and effort and time that ought to be honored.
Well, I think.
But go ahead.
We always, whenever at the end of the year, when we were doing our year, I would always, because I keep every hour I do with a timesheet for all my clients. And so so I track every hour I put in on here and then I'll turn it in and say, hey, here I put 60 hours.
Do you happen to remember what you did last year?
I could definitely look. Yeah.
Okay, just any ballpark that you have for it, just for.
Probably over the course of the year, 40 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Some pieces here and there.
I know.
I throw a lot of stuff.
I know. Yeah. I wish I was as disciplined as you and kept track of all the hours that I've spent working on things for the HCC.
Yeah, we always
summer.
Estimated that back then.
Yeah. Because that's all. Of course, there's
Volunteers used to turn in sheets at the end of their shifts, so that at the end of the year they calculated how many hours had been volunteered.
and
Track.
what was
They used it as part of the strategic plan for the museum or for the Heritage Center.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Good. We'll keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So what I really want to talk about today is really the budget, and some change that So what I gave to you is on the first page, and the second page is I guess this is not accurate.
No, it is.
Oh,
I'll show it to you in a minute.
okay, great. The first page is the town's budget and what the town puts out for different landscape. Yeah, it's just the one that's black and white. That's the town's budget. You can see our budget underneath culture 451. $30,000, $30,115. And you can see where the town also spends money elsewhere. In their, what is it, a $14 million budget?
$19 million. budget.
$19 million? Okay. So, yeah, so we get $30,000 of that $19 million. And so I think that's something to look at, something to keep in mind as we talk about the budget. And what we do at the HCC. So. Let's see. Just to see a comparison of you know, and see where we lie. You know, I think there was discussion. I remember there was a lot of controversy apparently when the HCC was built. Something about there was some folks thought that there was a community center that also had been built. I would submit that a community center would be at least 10 times the cost of the HCC. You know, I thought that it's kind of humorous that anybody, anytime, thought that they're comparing two things that made even that were even close in comparison. The HCC is really run on the cheap. A community center would involve a large budget, something closer to what the you know, fire protection gets. So we have programming next, the speaker series. We have yeah, go ahead.
I finish up in the budget section. So
Sure.
just to make sure that there's, you know, we had a brief conversation about the budget, wasn't as brief last meeting. And so I brought you some specifics from 2023 and 2024 so that this board can present a budget to the town. I need that by the end of next week, as discussed. And so the conversations last week, if you look at 23's, so December 31st of 23 is your first page. There's a compilation of what was in the general fund revenue budget. There was an expectation of $49,500 would be raised. You can see in the actual year-to-date column, based on the different programs, what was collected by the museum in 23 or by the Heritage Center for those items. And $16,800 was collected from the Heritage Center operations. And then you can see through the expenditure lines, the budget was $29,200 in expenditures, and the museum or the Heritage Center spent $22,800. So while the expectation is that they would raise $49,500, they spent 78% of what that budget was and only raised 34% of what was anticipated. How that number is derived, and it's not a hard number, is that it's twice what the program's budget entails and the fixed cost to maintain things like the electricity and the utilities, etc. So if you flip to the second page, and look, if you flip to the second page, you can see the different programs and the comparison and expenditure costs for that. So for instance, last year was a development year for the coloring books. And so there was a upfront cost for that vendor to provide the coloring books at $500, and we collected $64 in revenue. And that's how that goes down through. The putt-putt events are combined for a total of $930 in revenue that was collected and $553 that was expensed. So you can see the line for line. And then if you go down to the gala, you can see that the expenditures were $6,000 compared to the $12,940 that was raised through ticket sales and other items.
Okay. Could you go through those numbers again?
Sure. So the gala numbers, the expenditures that we had in that advertising line item were $6,000.
Okay.
And then the different contributions and sponsorships plus the ticket sales totaled $12,940.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
Okay.
So let me, and so I, that's very, that's interesting. We were expected to raise 49,500.
Correct.
We expected us to raise it.
Council did.
Council.
Council approved that budget in 20.
Council approved, and council expected a group of resident volunteers
Mhm.
to raise 49,500.
That was the expectation that was set by the group that was in your seats in 2023 with the amount of activities that they had planned.
That might have been the year where the year law.
That would have been 23. It would have followed 23.
This is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, yeah, that's bizarre. That is completely unrealistic.
Well, let me get to 24 because if you're already concerned about 23,
Yeah.
24's budget numbers, the expectation was that the museum would raise 51,000 and it would spend 30,000.
$51,000. They expect us to raise
Yeah.
$51,000.
What Dan was, or what Joe was always talking about was how through the 501 and through his other, it wasn't about making it through our speaker events or anything like that.
Yeah.
This was his belief that he could raise significant funds from.
And other events.
Well, I think this.
And they did, they raised,
In the building year in 23, when you look back at these events that were planned, these were building years. And that was represented and appreciated by council. And it's why that number, your expenditure line item and your expenditure budget has grown year over year. It's because the effort has been made with different events and different activities to support the Heritage Center.
So let me quickly chase it. I have spent the summer administrators.
Mhm.
Okay, and it has been the equivalent of a full-time job, just doing the speaker series, making sure that we have exhibits, taking care of daily, day-to-day things. We have a board here that is not full. Okay, we've been missing a couple of members, seats in this board for quite a while. We have a small group of volunteers. Most of the volunteers are older folks who just want to come in and lend the town some of their time to volunteer, to to educate the community, to provide the town with this service, with this and that's a lot of work. And I told Joe Wall, who came in May, that we didn't have the personnel to run his gala. He was insistent. He already told me that he'd already sent out letters to his nominees. Yeah, and so yeah, that's right. And so he kind of pressured me into giving although I don't see that. Who paid the $1,000 for the
It
down
came out of
payment check?
It's in the budget for advertising, I believe.
Okay, because okay, so we gave him $1,000 to
It was
put it down
500, I believe.
500, okay, to put down for somebody must have paid the other 500, but they were asking for 1,000 for the Chadwick. And again, I expressed to Joe at that time that we did not have the personnel to run a big gala. He was very insistent on it happening. So I told him he could run it. And I'll just tell you right now, I don't care what anybody decided this group is supposed to be able to raise money. This is silly.
Maybe what we should do, and I'm just suggesting that we as a group talk about that, because a lot of that expectation was grandfathered into our, and showing up on these numbers because numbers are black and white. And
Except we.
but I think your frustration is I hear you too. I mean, what was promised or what was expected, what was shared with the town council and what was expected and shared and discussed with us.
And if-
There may be a variance there.
Maybe, yeah,
And so rather than just, getting upset here, maybe what we should do, and I think there is a disconnect between what was and what is, and maybe we should talk about that.
Mhm.
And if you're asking for a budget in a week,
For 25.
yeah. And
But basically, it's a budget request.
Yes.
yeah, okay.
It's what you request for the budget.
And I've given you some numbers here. For instance, in 24, $20,000 in this budget is for program items.
Mhm.
Almost $10,000 is just fixed costs for utilities and maintenance and things of that nature.
Sure.
So those numbers I plugged in and I've already put in the fixed pieces. And so the blanks that you see on that page in 24 are what, based on what your goals are for 25, what does this group need to be successful?
And that number for expenses,
Mhm.
which was if you take out the gala, was consistent since we were established, is that correct?
It's been consistently around,
Not
you can see here on his,
for us to.
you can
raise,
see
but-
on what the expenditures have been on that page that Dan gave you. You can see what the expenditures were in 2021, 22.
5, 6, 16, 30, that's the 2022. So that's what for culture. I assume that's where that's 451.
Yes.
That's it. So basically from one. So I'm right.
Was that part of, because something happened in 22 and 23, was that when you, well, no, when you have the amended budget there, was that never the expectation of our?
That was what my understanding was, is that this board took on a greater scope of activity. And so council was supportive of that and increased that budget.
Yeah, that's whenever Joe, Abby were working for.
Correct.
Pretty much for the Senate.
I just, yeah, I guess maybe I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I was here to, steward the town's history. I've got a group of volunteers who do really amazing, wonderful work. And it takes a lot of time and effort. That doesn't show up.
I
On
think
your
the
balance sheet.
expectation is that as a liaison to council here, that maybe there should be a different type of a discussion that happens here in terms of our expectation.
This is a completely different board, so
Yeah,
your decisions are what's gonna end up going now, but the budget is gonna be controlled by council.
of course. Yeah, we're just another.
And I think the reason that their budgets were going up because people, they saw kind of a flurry of activity,
But
including fundraising.
Yeah.
Joe Law is a person who can go and do that, and he had lots of contacts and.
Well, I think he's actually willing to do that.
For us,
Yeah,
I got.
I think he's, I do. Yeah, I sit next to him. I think he's willing to step in and help raise money.
My understanding is that he's lined up a couple sponsors for the gala at about a $2,500 contribution. I don't have that in the pot yet, but my understanding is that there's a commitment there. So, I mean, again,
Also need to have the people to run every one of these things. I was part of that, the movie, the gala, all the things that came up, once we had speakers and then once a month we had something special. And I kind of forget what they all were. I mean, it's burnout work.
Yeah.
And I got burned out just spending 3 days in here,
I don't know if this is the best use of this time in this open forum to have the discussions that we're having. And I think as a board, because this is about mission, this is about budget, it's about very big issues, and we're turning into a little we're obviously all have some concerns, but I don't know if this is the time to talk about those big issues. Would anybody?
I don't disagree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, and we're being recorded, and what I would suggest is that we as a board talk about what are our missions, do they still dovetail with the expectation of council? And are the expectations of us in terms of fundraising still realistic? And we can all do that, and as adults, we can do that and figure it out. Okay,
And it's clearly many things have changed.
things have changed since Joe left our board, and Joe is now on council, and maybe there's a disconnect that we need to reconnect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. Then. Okay, so program, we got a speaker series. We got Frank Farina coming tomorrow night. Should be great. You know, we've done we got Bring It North, which is you know, an excellent exhibit for talking about Passavant Hospital and the campaign in the North Hills, the spirit of the North Hills to bring that hospital to the north. You know, spent a lot of time talking with the folks, the wonderful folks over at Passavant Foundation. They loaned me a bunch of stuff to exhibit, and so we got a great relationship with them that comes out of time. Effort. We have community day coming up, and we plan. We're working with Abby to make sure that the center presents the a good history of McCandless, and we're looking towards Winterfest and the remainder of the calendar. So you know, so we have our events that we've planned here. Volunteers, you know, we've talked a little bit about this already, but our best use of our volunteers, time, talent, and effort. I'm very concerned with that, about not having burnout, because, you know, we've lost, you know, Abby Lacoste left, Wendy Moore left. Why did they leave? They left because they got burnt out. I would hope that the council could see this as an investment rather than an ancillary cost, but I'm not sure that's the case. We've been working with area high school students. I've had just signed off on 20 hours for Julia, who was a North Allegheny High School student. She did a couple of wonderful oral history interviews for us. And I was very appreciative of her work. Worked with a couple of other students, a couple of NA students, another student from one of the city schools. Yes, go ahead.
Can we send a letter to those students thanking them for that? Because maybe it would be something that they would use in. I don't know.
There,
Sure, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
The day before school.
That's right, very good. I wish you great. Yeah, yes, we should do that. That's a wonderful idea. Yeah. Great. So yeah, so I'm real concerned about our volunteers and their burnout. They've done a lot of work. It wasn't an easy summer. You know, Wendy left. Like I said, in short order, we lost Abby, then we lost Wendy. And so we were scrambling to get back on our feet and keep the speaker series going and get our exhibits going. And again, that's when you know, I told Joe that we just didn't have what we needed to do the gala. Good. So Farina, we got Westview Park coming up, UPMC, telephones in Pittsburgh. Working all towards that. All right.
Mentioned Westview, can I show you the?
Oh yeah, wonderful. Yes, and Suzanne has gone out and somebody. So Suzanne, where did you get that from again?
Beth Shelhaus, who, she, Chikalski invented the
Okay.
Westview, Historical Society.
Great, and you, and how'd you come about that?
They, how did it come about?
Yeah.
Beth called here
Great,
and, then, you know, I called back and she went down to see it and it would fit here, but then she doesn't receive them, guess, and just, I think maybe it's her son.
Mhm.
He said, I want to be sure where you're gonna put it. I think they don't want us to end up in the basement.
Yeah, so you drove out there, did you drove out there?
Of where it would go.
You spent time talking to these people? And it wasn't, and obviously, and the gentleman wanted to know, he had concerns about where it was going to be placed and what.
Yes, he wants
So
to,
you had to discuss things like that, and then I think you took pictures of the place,
yeah,
et cetera, not to him.
where it could go. Potential donation.
Yeah, donation is wonderful, piece here. So that took time, took your time, your personal time.
So this was the original oil.
It's an original and it was from, 1906.
All right.
And,
Yeah, and I've talked to all these folks who are coming in to speak, you know, spent personal time there. So we appreciate the time and your work. All right, I'll skip over the next few. Yeah, okay, yeah, and talking about physical plants, the budget and the physical plant. As I understand, we're about to get lights in this parking lot. And they're, as I understand, they're connected to the back of our building. And therefore, that's going to shoot up.
What happened?
I haven't seen the plans. They haven't come across my desk.
So that's gonna, again, that's gonna be,
It's budgeted.
that's gonna be a cost that we incur
For the electricity.
for the electricity. That
Yeah.
The HCC will incur that cost. And we'll have to go out and raise money for the town to have lights in the park.
Yeah, I think it might be, from what they're saying to us, it's not even.
So has it been, permitted and
It was, yeah, they
They've done
yeah,
it.
often.
they have the funding from MODA? Yes.
I talked to Jerry on one day.
Yeah.
He really catered it.
Yeah, here we go.
So when would it?
Yeah, the
when
funding
would-
is available. Absolutely.
So
The
that
funding
will-
is there.
Something it would be in the spring. Can they do that over the fall?
That's a good question.
And so that will increase our electricity, is that right?
Well,
Greatly.
I assume it would be part of the proposal that will come across you.
Mhm.
You will make sure that.
I mean, I can ask where the project is. I don't know where the plans are.
The potential of having, let's just think of the potential of having the lights out there. That would be, we would incur that cost,
The
we would not,
right?
the HCC is a department of the town of McCandless.
So I love that language.
Yeah,
I do. I love that language because we're a department of the town. But we have to raise our own money.
No,
Dan, I think you're mixing apples and oranges here.
Okay.
And I understand you're upset. But we're a line item. We're part of a catalyst, and that money that was talking about being raised,
Yeah,
that should be a discussion with Mr. Wall that we
sure.
have to have. Okay, because there was a lot that went into that discussion. Having just been here about what potentially could be raised. So I don't think anybody's expecting us to do something, and we all are pretty much aware of who we are and what we do here.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's a volunteer, small group
That's right.
trying to help our community.
Right.
So it is we, in my opinion. Okay, and there's no, and we need to work together on this, and I think this disconnect is causing some angst. And I understand it. Let's talk about that
Sure.
in another.
I will tell you, I've had conversations with folks.
Okay,
about this already.
maybe that information should be shared with the rest of us, and so that we as a group can kind of think about that and discuss the people who are here to help us do what we're supposed to do
Okay,
and have a conversation about it.
great. Okay, all right, and that brings me to the History Maker Gala. And, you know, again, I don't think, and I've already expressed this in a different conversation with Joe Wall, that we do not have the
well, maybe we could ask Joe
Personnel.
to provide for us for our meeting, what the progress is, because if you've asked him to lead that, what the goal, what the expectations are of us and the volunteers to support that as we work toward November, when the game is gonna happen.
Right, it's October,
And is there anybody here that would be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were involved last year, so let's see what the needs are and whether we can help out with that. I mean,
Yeah, sure. We can help out. That's the thing. I just want I want it to be very clear. I think that the gala needs to be taken over by the council because it's just too big for this group of people to do. We're already taxed. I'll tell you right now, I have no more volunteer time to give.
Dan, I don't think anybody expects you to, that's something that you need a subcommittee to do.
and I appreciate you leading this meeting in the sense by thanking me, thanking Suzanne and everybody on the team here for their efforts, and we thank you. Clearly, an issue here of expectations versus resources, and we must discuss it.
Yes,
Because a big change happened in January.
yeah,
Tried to make it work,
right.
and now there's the ramifications of that in terms of budget and money and resources and people who are burning out.
Mhm.
So,
And I like the idea of saying if this is gonna happen, because you got a few options with the games. Number one is do nothing at all. Number two is have council run it with assistance wherever we can provide it, like which is not gonna be vast, but it's because we're
You
not
have
vast.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so do it, but almost like a gala.
when you start council, you're talking about this committee.
I'm talking about like if Joe's doing, like if Joe's on point, I'm talking about those what I'm saying. And then saying, where can we assist with that? Just running, like, where can we assist on that? To be able to make sure it happens, like a light approach. And then the third thing would be out to redo everything, which I don't think is, I don't think that's a likely scenario. So to me, the middle scenario. To me, it sounds like that could be
Maybe one of the things that you could do is invite, because I know when Joe came, he caught you at time. And I don't, was that at this meeting? Because I missed.
This will be, I had a meeting with Joe in May.
So maybe we all need to understand this that way and as to what his expectations are, where he's.
because really the kicker of it is effort level. That's I mean, that's all these, we don't have a whole lot of effort to give. So if there's limited, is there enough that we can make it something successful? It's great advertising, it's great all that. It's great. We have social media for level.
This profile
Yeah.
can't interact with.
But the expert for the real thing, that's real. And so we have to address that square on, we can't have do what you did last year, right? We gotta do that a little differently.
Well, we had more availability in Culp last year. Not just, yeah, we had Joe who did a lot of work.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, before Abby left, she did a lot of work on that gala. The year before that, what, in tourism, or
No, we did that. You know, Abby was there.
that, all that.
What was that?
And Jenna.
Diane.
Yeah.
Joe. And.
Last.
And you still got it, yeah.
The three
It
of
was
them.
not done.
We have to understand what expectations we have. And Abby and Joe, when they were running the show, had very high expectations for what they could do in terms of fundraising, in terms of events.
I think it's inflated what we have.
Well, and so now we have what we have, and we have to talk about that with her. And we have to talk about that with the council, of which in the community that we are part of.
Yeah.
Not us and them, it's we. It has to be we.
Yeah,
And I think some of the donations we're getting, like UPMC and that, they're giving it because of this, because we exist here.
Sure.
I think that.
I agree.
The reason.
I would bet.
So we'd have to be involved with it somehow.
So we have to figure it out, and what, we have to match the requirements to the. We have to match that, and if you can't make something out of nothing. So I like the idea of finding out what's needed, say, what's needed to make this happen. That's,
Okay,
Ruth. Janice,
do we wanna,
what's the other?
Do you have a subcommittee or to kind of, to figure that out?
yeah, I think maybe as a committee and having some interaction as a committee with Joe and with council. And hopefully having you to help us navigate some of that.
I'd be happy to be
You know,
on.
so it helps us.
now, if you had like, obviously, I think Kevin, you would need to be involved since you've done.
I think everybody on the committee is the active member of the committee would be involved in that if we could, because.
Betty, you talked about, wanting to do some of this type of stuff.
Yeah, I wanna help with the gala, I mean,
Okay.
I do work, but when I was at Women's Club, I, co-chaired some of our fundraisers and did some work with them, so, and was in Cranberry Rose Club for 8 years, and I was, treasurer, vice president, and I co-chaired our fundraisers, our craft show, our stuff that we had. So, I have some experience with.
You could go on liaison,
You got,
you know, say it's an event planning and event happening is.
Yeah,
You have to have a lot of experience to make it work.
yeah.
And you have to see the problems before they come. That's kind of, if you've had experience, and Joe had a lot of experience in that. I think what we're saying is, we don't have a lot of experience. Dan keeps it, I'm a marketing guy, we don't have the same skill sets that,
Right.
that Joe had, and we don't have the same skill sets that Abby had. And
that's where next year's a game. Next year's a game. And next year's a game changer.
And Wendy's supposed to be here too, okay, and she's not, so.
Um,
So do we want to move on with today's meeting, or do we want to, is there anything else that we have on? Us to do
what was
today?
the one thing I wanted to do? Oh, I do want to, okay, so I want to propose, a purchase. Now I've made other purchases that were smaller purchases, so I didn't bother bringing it to the board. Things like, frames and book holders and things like that. But I'm considering a purchase of either a smart whiteboard or just a smart television. Smart whiteboard would be somewhere in the order of about $1,800. A smart television like that one would be,
We
$400.
have chance to run it over if you wanna, somebody come and take it out. When we moved, the lady kept it in their bedroom. We have
Yeah.
2 TVs. We don't need another one.
Right,
I'd be
smart-
willing to
Thought- thought
go.
about that.
Is it a smart one?
Probably about the size.
I'd like to
of-
get, into that, I'd like to get, make sure that's the latest technologies.
We turned it on, so I don't know, we've never used it, cause I wasn't hooking up a third TV.
Like smart, just,
But
but
I.
Well, HDMI, and also be able to, from the iPhone and things like that.
She's somebody
Yeah,
who's got it
it's basically, yeah,
be compatible, that
Yeah.
you're
you
looking
get the interactive.
to give it to you.
Would, do the board members think that an interactive whiteboard is that too much technology? Is it-
Well,
What would be the difference? I'm not,
Well,
I'm not familiar with.
there's all sorts of things you can do, like, conduct meetings, you can save stuff on it, you can have, it's a big computer, right?
It's like a giant.
Yeah.
You can draw on it.
Yeah, you can-
draw on it. Then you have also those apps.
I also thought one thing to do in the future,
Having somebody come in and do talk, the better to have something that you can.
yeah, they could,
Yeah, with.
Like this meeting, you got a Zoom app.
yeah, and, so, and I also envisioned maybe having like a gaming night where we invite young kids and young people in here, and they could, we start them off with old school games, and then work our way up into like Xbox tournament or something like that.
well, since we have to have our budget in a week.
Yeah.
It would seem to be a perfect time to raise that.
Yeah.
And get some numbers on it. I mean, because it doesn't seem like we have.
Yes, you could absolutely put that in that number and
Can
then raise it.
can we squeeze that in this year?
Yeah, we should.
He's spent, we have spent some of it this year.
But I'm just looking at what Joe needs for the, gala still.
We have 2,000,
No, it's not since we budgeted, it's not a.
the audio visual, we don't have the TV in there. Did you
I did-
buy?
I bought a document scanner. I didn't buy, I don't think I bought a television. No.
Do you know how much, you know how much stuff was you purchased already?
This,
But this is one I want, it's real soon, it's like, yeah, it's like, if you want a nice one, it's 3,000. Well, what that you can get, stripped down one.
Presentations on anything, what's the size of it?
This one is 65 inches, so you can probably get a 55 incher for.
70 for 20.
Yeah, see, if you want the ver-
If we can't find the money in 24, we can certainly put it in.
yeah.
So basically, that's what I'm looking at.
I'll get it for you.
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
so
so
there was a budget of 21. Was it
20,000. 2,000.
$2,000 for audiovisual.
So did you find something great for $2,000?
Wouldn't be great, but it would be, like, yeah, more like a 17.
Like minus what we spend.
Like you
Yeah,
just
that
went
already.
over 49 inch, or that's 49 inches, not 65. So you're not gonna get, you're probably not gonna get a 65. So you get a
Find
55 or.
Because maybe it's best to budget for it for next year and get the better one.
That's you guys.
It's on.
Pardon? You're a little concerned.
Was that
I thought they-
for little-
Is it just
Right,
private?
it depends on how much you spend, if it's not that much then.
Yeah.
It's work this year.
Numbers for the good one. It's bigger because that way you would want to make a presentation where everybody could see when we have
I
lots
think
of
the
people.
65 inch would be, because that's probably.
that's 50.
Right, yeah, 50. Yeah, so 65. So.
You-
5.
You went out to do presentations, and so you needed things to do that. I believe that was some of the items that were purchased previously.
Okay, and these would be things
That
for
would be
here
here.
when we have everybody.
We're here with
Yeah.
this presentation, like
Yeah.
a speaker.
Yeah, we had a blinds and
And quite frankly, it would be very useful, Dan, for your, with the high school students to be able to do their projects.
I think both educational and making presentations is helps us fulfill our.
One of them and see how it works. You can stand it.
The high school students are real techy.
Yeah, they're gonna go.
A lot.
We need one of them in here to sit all
You
over.
got it.
Might be a good idea.
Yeah, I'd really say that's educational and presentation, both those important parts of our.
Use it multi-use.
Okay, so this, we're looking for some small technology.
Yeah, and he's gonna look at the 65 here. 65 for 2Gs.
It doesn't have the stand with it, but maybe it does. No, no, wall mount. Oh, okay, an extra stand. Let's see what we can do.
Well, might be able to set a nice, because that TV's going away. Again, that's my daughter's TV.
Stand is that.
What's that?
The stand is
Stay.
No, didn't buy that good.
Yeah, it seems like you might need the best things to do.
Okay.
65.
I think he spent like, just stop.
Well, I might email this one, we just so you know what it is.
Sounds good. All right. So should we vote on that? All in favor of buying a smartphone?
Yeah, I mean, if the budget supports it, we can do it now.
Sorry. Okay, all right. All right, that really kind of, of course, we're looking at cleaning up the basement. We got it, Suzanne. Done some great work, getting in touch with the, Department of Public Works to,
We check waste management.
oh, yeah,
And then Public Works will come and take all the things out. There's about 50 chairs downstairs that are everybody's tripping over. And there's also a very rusty, nasty looking parts of the roller coaster.
yeah.
And Dan is gonna check with Mike Funyak, who gave it to us. And it's totally beyond
Yeah, it's
transport. The guys that were from DPW couldn't believe that they gave it to us.
yeah.
You know, we thought about maybe making a car for it,
Mhm.
He said he can't do that. The Betty Tech guy said he needs plans. So that can't be done, but they are willing to move and get them shared. But there's some other things that we would like to be gone in the basement. We have,
We need to just jump them.
well, that I don't know. I had one guy take them to a church event and he saw
The chairs,
Yeah.
do we,
Are you allowed?
Well, he saw that he didn't, we
Gotta
didn't,
get rid of
she gave it to him, yeah, and they weren't in session then, and they were.
Those are the chairs that Joe bought and donated.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
There's sturdy chairs.
Yeah.
You have to
They're
admit.
like from.
they're bad, I mean, but they're still,
but they're a hassle to bring up from the basement and you know, and no, he bought them at what's that, Mac Discount. And, you know, he had them stacked up here and it really looked horrible, having them on the corners of here.
it's awkward to move. bring up.
Yeah, I mean, I can carry them on my shoulder and bring them here.
But anyway,
Do we, do we have access to any
Yeah.
dumpsters?
to
Get
get rid of
I
it.
mean, you
Yeah,
can always hire one and bring it over if you're gonna do a day of
Yeah.
it.
yeah, if you're gonna do a big event, or we can have Brad see if we can bring a truck over.
Yeah, I mean, if we do want to get rid of them, if we all agree that they don't have value for any events now or in the future and they're taking up our room, then it sounds like.
I'm
Bill,
sorry,
how-
I didn't get everything you were saying.
I guess if we agree that there's things down there that we want to get rid of,
Mhm.
they're telling us that either it could go in their dumpster or they can. Bring a truck over to.
Bring a truck over and bring, haul it away. Or bring it to the dumpster over a period of time, you know, 10 a week, whatever.
What do you, I mean, like we have 2 stereos down there. Are you, I mean,
I think I've always heard everybody say we need to clean out some stuff. We have redundancies.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would go with the big volume things first,
yeah,
pay attention to that, then
yeah.
don't get into the weeds, yeah.
but should we throw the stereos in a dumpster? I mean, but no, who wants them?
Nobody wants them,
Yeah, well,
other than us, we don't want them to.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
You're not really antiques.
you don't really have an obligation to take people's.
Yeah, and that's happened somewhere.
Just like in my house, a few rocks. Just think is the
I
best.
think I'll ask for any public comments. Ready to adjourn? All right, we're adjourned, meeting adjourned.
Smart board bill. You can use your, budget.